Looks like Russia is falling back again. Is this a sign of things to come, or is Russia just setting a trap? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's May 19th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. But first, guys, as always, if you want to support what I do, check out combatvetnews.com. I found about only 1 in 20 of you guys come over and check out Combat Vet News at all. But it's a great site. It has all my YouTube videos for free. It also has all the news stories about the national security space that I can't get to. And of course, if you want to support what I do, keep me independent, you can sign up and become a member at any tier. Is going to get you access to the Discord and to the exclusive members only content. Every week we take a look at the videos, the viral combat videos that YouTube and Patreon would not let me show you. Last week we looked at some of the first footage coming out of Ukraine's counteroffensive work in Bakhmut, and it's some wild stuff, a real change from the previous units that have been stationed there. And of course, today we're going to be dropping a video right after this one. So if you're already a member, stay tuned. And if you're not yet, now is definitely the time. The footage is only going to get more intense. And of course, I appreciate all you guys' support. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. Well, when you look at the control map in and around Bakhmut, you can see that there are a number of frontline updates. So taking a look right here, we are the 18th, which is yesterday. So actually, we didn't even look at that, right? Last time we talked, it was the 17th. Now, the 18th, we saw some movement here. First off, we see a little bit of almost repositioning by Russian forces, probably them trying to hold this strip of forest right here. But also interesting is that you're seeing Ukrainian forces push near the town of Sako and Vanzetti, which always I appreciate. Sako and Vanzetti were American, I think American Ukrainian like dissidents or anarchists in like the 1890s, famous for sort of being given an unfair show trial. So just a weird fact that the town is named after them. But you can see here that what makes it interesting is that Ukrainian forces are pushing here as well. Again, just a little bit. And we've talked about this in other places, that Ukraine has a pretty significant incentive in this front line to create a lot of shaping operations. They want to make it hard for Russia to discern real attacks from sort of phantom offensives. So these sort of small actions may actually be a precursor to something larger, or they may be Ukrainian counteroffensive axes opening up. As we've said, right, Bakhmut alone is not going to be the site of the total counteroffensive. Why? Because it's simply too small for 13 brigades to fight. Instead, you're going to see Russia or Ukraine force Russia to make hard choices about where they reinforce, where they send reserves. And you can already see it now. As we talked about a couple days ago, Russia seems to have committed at least some of its reserve force to trying to stabilize lines in Bakhmut. And that is a big part of their objectives, is to just blunt this offensive. But when they do so, right, it's like being a boxer. If you protect your head, your body becomes exposed. If you protect your body, your head becomes exposed. That's how it can be with allocating your reserves. If you protect Bakhmut, somewhere else in the front line becomes more vulnerable. And that's the trade-offs that they want Russia to make, right? They want Russia to either worry about this as another axis of advance and reinforce it. So when we look, though, in the last 24 hours, we see that Ukrainian forces continue to advance and that Russian forces are in retreat, especially in this northern prong here near Ivansky. You can see that Russia was attempting to maybe hold or contest this wooded area here, but it looks like they've completed their withdrawal, and it looks like Russia is trying to stabilize, again, a line along this wooded area here, and then hold out in this wood line here. Now, the problem, of course, is that if Ukraine does indeed control this wood line, then there's already a break in their lines. So this effort to stabilize the lines is, I wouldn't say it's failing, but it's already vulnerable. It already reflects a sort of broken line of contact. Russia may try to use this forest here to create sort of a field of fire, but it's hard to do. It's hard to do when you're talking about distances of several hundred meters, especially when you're talking about flat terrain with obstacles like trees blocking the view. So I think this is definitely not going to be a new front line. It's sort of already in some form of collapse. Again, based on the distances we're seeing, it continues to feel like an accurate assessment that this is primarily a light infantry fight. That's just the distances we're seeing. We're not seeing the sort of 5, 6, 7 kilometer frontline changes that you would expect from mechanized warfare, right? We also see, of course, there's not really any reported changes elsewhere in the front lines. A little bit up here, you can see Russian forces advancing sort of in contested territory. What's interesting as well to me is that when we look at the combat map, Russian forces have launched only 29 combat engagements, only 29 offensive efforts. This is probably, if not an all-time low, a low certainly for this quarter. And you can see where they're doing it. They're trying to continue to push in Bakhmut, and they're trying to stabilize the areas outside of Ivansky, trying to disrupt Ukrainian efforts to advance. You also see them trying to do something similar near Avdiivka, continue to push, continue to fix Ukrainian forces in their current positions. But we're literally seeing in real time the results of this reallocation of troops, I think. Again, a 29 total sorties is still like a 10% or a 30 something percent drop from even just a couple days ago. And I think that's a function of the fact that troops allocated for offense are instead being reassigned to help stabilize the Bakhmut front lines. So you're seeing a reduced Russian output. And at some point, I suspect Ukraine will see that Russian offensive actions drop to single digits. And that will probably be a sign that Russia has no troops to spare for offensive work. That may be the trigger point for them to launch their second axis of their counteroffensive. Just my theories on this. What's also interesting is that it appears that there's continued partisan action in and around Russia. On May 18th, yesterday, a train derailed, blocking the only rail line into Sevastopol, the base of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. The railway authorities said it was the result of, quote, interference by outsiders. Russia is very good, and militaries are very good generally about repairing rail lines quickly. But it still is disruptive to forces on the Black Sea Fleet. And of course, more importantly, sabotage in these areas are going to require the Kremlin to increase their force protection of this infrastructure. And that is going to mean pulling troops, again, off of the front lines and to places like Sevastopol to prevent these sort of things from occurring. It's just a further stretch and strain on Russian resources. And oftentimes these intermittent partisan efforts, right, take an hour of the partisans' time, but they require full-time soldiers to stop them. So it can oftentimes be a tremendous manpower gain, even if the tactical gain per se is not actually that essential. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you for today. Of course, thank you so much to all of our lieutenant tier members on combatvetnews.net. You're certainly joining a large cohort of people who support what I do and keep me able to do this independently. And of course, a very special thank you to our colonel tier members. You guys, again, I can't do this without you. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.